Hello Media Arts students, and welcome back to another week of Media Arts. Last week we worked on some presentations and some documents. I saw some great things that you're doing with formatting. Really wanted you to get a good idea of how to control your Google Docs, how to create docs, how to attach them, things like that. And so this week we're now going to get into a little more creative aspect of the class where we're going to do a little bit of digital photography. So this week you're going to be taking some pictures. You're going to be adding those pictures to your Google Drive. You're also going to be putting them in your Google Photos album so we can share that work with the class. So I am going to teleport. Now it's kind of painful, but I'm going to do it and I'm going to do the best I can. So ready? And... Whoa! Ah, that really hurts my back. Nice way to travel, but at any rate, let's get right into the lesson. All right, so now that I've teleported to the studio, let's get started. Happy Monday. It's time to learn some photography skills. I'm pretty excited. This is where my passion really lies in this class, and I think you guys are going to have a lot of fun too. So here's a picture I took at the St. John's Bridge about a year ago, and thought I'd share it with you. So speaking of photography, let's move right along. Okay, so this week's goal for the week of October 12th is we are going to start off by reviewing formatting docs and presentations. So the presentations and documents looked pretty good. Just want to make sure you guys understand all the different tools and how you can set up a document to make it look great. We are going to talk about the rule of thirds for photography. So this is a really important composition rule. Composition means how you arrange elements in your photographs. And so we're going to learn that rule. We are then going to take some pictures using a cell phone, a digital camera, or even your Chromebook. So if you have a digital camera, please use it. I think it's really great to use a nice camera if you're able to. If you have a cell phone, cell phones have amazing cameras these days. Go ahead and use one of those. And then if you have access to neither of those, using your Chromebook will work. I'll have a video for you about how to use your Chromebook as a camera. I'll put that separate in the slides. You can take a look at that if that applies. It's not all that convenient, but it will work. Lastly, what we're going to do, actually, there's two more things. We are going to get those pictures from our cameras or our phones onto the computer if we weren't using a Chromebook. And then we're going to take those pictures and we're going to put them in a Google Photos album. And then you're going to be able to share the link to the All About Me presentation that you made before. So let's jump right into this. And I think you'll see how this all goes. Okay, so the first thing we want to look at is our two documents, making sure they're in the correct spot. So when you have that document that you created called I Can Format, you're going to see that it has a title called I Can Format. You've hopefully done all those formats and they made sense to you. And when you click on the Move button, it's going to tell you where it's located. It's in my Media Arts CDL folder, but I made an example folder called Mr. Oliver Media Arts. I'm going to move it into there. So by clicking on it and then hitting Move, it's going to go to the right place. Now it's going to give you a warning about the permissions, but you want to have that moved anyways because I need to be able to see these, and so we're going to do that. Okay, so that's the first document, and then I can click on the link to my presentation. That'll automatically open up my other presentation. This is the one called Getting to Know Google Drive. Hopefully you're able to add slides and pictures and figure out the animations okay. Just play around with it. We'll be using presentations all semester long, so you'll get lots of opportunities to work on it. Including this week, you're going to add to the presentation that we did as a class. So if you haven't added your All About Me slide to that, you'll want to still do that because each week we're going to be building onto that in order to show off our work. Okay, so now that I have this document open, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to click on Move, and I'm going to find my folder, and then I would click Move. I want to show you another way that Google Drive also can work. So if you were just in your folder, you can take it and drag it from one place to the next. See, these are both inside of Media Arts CDL, which is inside of a folder called CDL Classwork. So folders can be inside of folders, just like you can have tabs inside of a 3-ring binder to stay organized for all of your classes. You could also find it off of my drive when you look at the list of everything that you have in your drive. I've got lots of folders, but I'm able to move that document from one place to another. So what I would have to do is find that folder, that document first. I think I called it Getting to Know Your Google Drive. Right? And as I search for that, getting to know your Google Drive. There it is, right over here. I'm going to be able to move it into my CDL classwork folder. So I'm going to click and drag because that was the first one I had. And when I hover over it, I can put it in Media Arts. And you hover over it again, and it can go into Mr. Oliver Media Arts. This is my example folder, and I've moved it this way. So there's two different ways, whether moving right within Google Drive or inside a document and hitting move in order to do that. Okay, so that is all I wanted to review with formatting documents, presentations, and moving them into your drive. Make sure both your presentation and your document have been put in your folder so that you're able to have it all organized for everything we need for this class. Okay, so in order to get credit for this assignment, you're going to have to go to the classwork tab. And you're going to have to go where it says creating docs and slides. And then here is where you're going to have to add your work. Now, since I'm the teacher, I'm not able to add it. So I'm going to show you an example from a different class. So I am the member of a math classroom, just so I can show you what this would look like. So I'm going to find this assignment here. Okay, so when you are in your Google Classroom, you're going to see your assignment. This is the Google Classroom grades check that I'm demonstrating from, but you would do it under the creating docs and slides assignment. And all you have to do is hit add or create and then Google Drive. And they should come up as your recent files because these were the two last files that I was working on. So here's icon format, and I'm going to actually do two, so I could select both by holding down Control, Command on a Mac. And then when I hit insert, they'll both get attached. And what then I'll do is I will turn it in. Or in this case, yep, here we go. So now I can hit turn in, and it's going to say turn in. Now, you're not going to be able to edit these two documents once they're turned in because that's just like putting a paper on a teacher's desk. You can't work on it while the teacher's grading it. But as soon as I get it graded sometime next week, or actually sometime this week, I will get it back to you and then you'll be able to make changes. But really, these were just to learn how to do those formats to documents and presentations. So I'm going to turn it in. Okay, so now that that's turned in, we're going to get into photography. All right, first off, you've probably taken pictures on a cell phone before. They are so automatic. It is so easy to take a great picture with a modern cell phone. However, if you tap on a subject, you realize it'll focus. And so we'll talk later about depth of field. But if you're taking a picture of a person, just try tapping on that screen first, and that will get them in focus. Also, if you press and hold on most smartphones, and then you drag up or drag down, you're able to change the amount of light that comes into your shot. Now, when you take a shot, try and limit the amount of completely white, bright areas. The reason for that is you can always brighten up a photo, but you can't necessarily turn down a photo. What I mean by that is very bright areas on a photograph will be blown out in the highlights. And so this picture that this person happens to be taking here, the sky there looks incredibly white. And even when you turn it down, it's going to have lost all its detail. It's like a flashlight was shined in your eyes. You can't see anything. However, if it was a little bit darker, you could add light to the darker areas by adjusting the exposure in post-production. And I'm going to show you some editing over the next couple of weeks. So just try and keep that in mind about not overdoing your highlights. Okay, so grid lines are something that we are going to all be using on whatever camera we're using if it's not a Chromebook. I don't know how to turn them on a Chromebook. But you're going to go into the settings of your phone or your camera, and you're going to turn on the grid lines. And you're going to leave them on to make sure that you have good compositions. So here I've taken a picture of one of the cameras that we have. Whenever we're back in school, you'll be able to use this camera and this lens. And I took a picture of it using my grid lines. And you can see that the intersecting points, so in the right by the lens and by the body of the camera, are over the intersections of some lines. And so I use those lines all the time to make sure my photo looks good. I also use it to make sure that it's level. If you look at the other photo, that's actually the back of a camera, a digital camera with the screens, also has the grid lines turned on. And I've got the lens of the one camera on one intersection point and the pull cord on the lamp on the other. Kind of just add some balance to it. So as a beginner composition tip, turn on those grid lines and think about the rule of thirds that I'm going to explain in just a minute here. So if you're not sure how to turn on your grid lines on your device, just Google it. I'm happy to help you in office hours also, but generally I am going to be on the other end Googling as well. So you'll be able to figure it out and improve your Google foo. It is a very important skill to have. That's part of what this media arts. So ask a good question and you often get a good result. All right, so let's talk about the rule of thirds. when you look at this picture, maybe you think, hey, that's a pretty nice picture. I like it. I'm kind of partial to it because it is my son and my wife there looking at a sunset in Manzanita. But notice that I didn't put them in the center of the frame. I have them off to the left. And the reason why I did that was roughly following the rule of thirds. So here's that grid line that I was explaining before. And the grid lines help you divide up the frame and kind of separate elements in your composition. I like to have people vertical in a frame, and I like my horizons to look horizontal. That line helps me make the horizontal line, works nicely with the bottom third line, and then the two subjects in my photo. They are right along this one line. They're standing up. It kind of divides things out nicely. Talking about intersection points, we have their feet at one point, right? We have the cloud line starts along the top area. I have the sun poking through the clouds here. And then I even have the reflection down in this area. So I use this as an example of a rule of thirds photo because frequently you think about centering whatever it is you want in your photo. But I want to get you guys thinking about composition and how you can use the rule of thirds to change your picture slightly and see how they look different. All right, so here is the definition for the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds is a rule of thumb or guideline which applies to the process of composing visual images such as designs, films, paintings, and photographs. The guideline proposes that an image should be imagined as divided into 9 equal parts by 2 equally spaced horizontal lines and 2 equally spaced vertical lines, and that important compositional elements should be placed along these lines or their intersections. Proponents of the technique claim that aligning a subject with these points create more tension, energy, and interest in the composition than simply centering the subject. For the last 300 or 400 years, painters have been using the rule of thirds when they paint. Photographers have been using this, especially in landscape photography, but in other compositions as well. And it really creates more tension, energy, and interest in your picture than just putting stuff in the middle. So we'll get to all those things later, but just to start, just try the rule of thirds. Try and just off-center your subjects, and I've got a lot of resources to help you understand that. All right, so you put the interesting elements where the lines intersect. So you can put the horizon on one of the horizontal lines, maybe this bottom line here, right? Maybe if the sky is really neat, you would put the horizon down here. If the sky is not that interesting, but the landscape looks great, maybe you'd have the horizon along this line, right? In a reflection shot, usually it's right down the middle, but you're going to still make sure that it's level. And then frame your foreground subject on one of the vertical lines. So if you have someone standing in front, maybe put them here, right? If it's a close-up of someone, might have their head all the way around this intersection point. And it's going to open up space in the photo, and it's really going to look cool. So give that a shot. And before you take a picture, ask yourself, what is this picture about, right? And I know that sounds pretty deep, but think about it. When you're taking a picture of someone blowing out their birthday candles, are you taking a picture of that person because they're your friend? Or are you taking a picture that would look like a great picture of someone blowing out a birthday cake? If so, maybe you would use the rule of thirds with the cake on one intersection point and them on the other. And think about how you can make photos look more universal and more appealing to others other than those that are interested. When you're looking at pictures of your friends or your children or your parents, they're interesting no matter how they're composed. But when you're looking at pictures of random people or random objects, composition is key. All right. So I say so a lot. I apologize. I'm going to work on that. Here I am taking a photograph. Actually, I'm not in this photograph, but I'm behind the camera and I'm taking a picture of the Benson Bubblers downtown. So I like this photo a lot. It is a rule of thirds photo, even though it's really basic as far as I have the water fountain on a third line. And the most interesting part of the frame is where the water is erupting from the water fountain. So that is where I made an intersection point. And it really opens up space in the photo. You can kind of make out things in the background because I have what's called a very shallow depth of field. If I took this picture with a cell phone, I didn't. I used my DSLR. But if I used a cell phone, I would have tapped on the water fountain, and that would have been more in focus than the parts in the back. So try that, even when you're shooting with cell phones, about creating a little depth of field. And I like how the other water fountain behind it fades out, and you kind of see some distance in this photo. So rule of thirds makes this photo kind of interesting. Here is one of my favorite photos of all time. I love this photo. I have it printed and hanging in my hallway. And this is the Pantheon in Rome. It's my favorite building. I taught Roman history and social studies for many years, and I got a chance to go here about 5 years ago with some students. And when I went into this building, I was just blown away by its beauty. And I wanted to find a way to capture the roof because it's a beautiful ceiling. And the best way that I could do that was using the rule of thirds. So look, my intersection points are where the light comes through the oculus and shines onto the wall, and then the oculus itself. So getting back to highlights, this was a picture I took a long time ago. Look how I blew out the highlights, and you have no idea what the detail is outside. It's actually a pretty nice day, but just because of the difference in light, it looks like that. So photography is tricky. It's not like the human eye that can sense different amounts of light and kind of think about them together. It's a snapshot in time, and I lost a lot of detail up there. But the detail inside, I think, is more important. So sometimes you just have to make that choice. All right, here is another landscape photo. This one was taken in Astoria, Oregon at Fort Stevens. And I chose this to show you because I think this is a good example of where you would put the horizon when your sky isn't all that interesting. But the foreground I really like here because this little river is coming out to the Columbia. We have wildflowers and trees, and you can see that the top third line is where the horizon goes. And it kind of helps divide it up. You could think of each one as being a vertical slice. They could all almost work as their own photos because we're really dividing up the frame and thinking about what's important and what parts. So, rule of thirds. It's a very important rule. Make sure to follow it. Okay, here is another picture from Astoria. This is Fort Stevens at the Peter Iredale shipwreck. And I use this one to show you that when you have great clouds in your sky and you have a great foreground being the water and the shipwreck, you can split the difference here. But even still, my ship is not centered, brings in the sun in order to the photo, and I think it really works nicely. Okay, let's say you're taking a picture of people. You can still use the rule of thirds there. Notice how I have both of my kids are roughly on a third line, and about eye level is where the top third line should be. That way there's a little bit of space above their heads, not cutting off. If you get into a close-up, you don't have to worry about that as much, but you can see it kind of just leaves the right amount of space. So there you go. All right, that was a couple years ago. And when I film hair and TV, I use the rule of thirds all the time when I have two hosts. This year I only have one because of social distancing, but you can see that they are following the rule of thirds as well. So it's all about like how much space you create above people's heads. It just fits right when you use the grid lines to help composition. This is why every camera has those grid lines in them. It's not by accident. It's because of composition. All right, there are two videos that I would like you to watch. Feel free to watch whatever you like from them. This first video here is one that is all about landscape photography, and this more applies to people in video. You can kind of look at both. You don't have to watch them intently or take notes, but both are really good resources. YouTube is filled with resources. Even if you were just do a search on rule of thirds, you would help understand it better. But both of these, I think, are excellent resources, so I recommend checking them out. All right, now let's talk about taking some pictures because this week you are going to take some photos. And the best time of day to take photos is the first hour of the day and the last hour of the day, not meaning at midnight, but the first hour of light. So just before the sun comes up and then the first hour of sunlight. Looks amazing. These three photos here are all sunrise photos. Look how the sky just looks amazing. It's called golden hour because the light has a golden hue that is ideal for photography. This one here was a sunset photo, and we think about sunsets at the beach, especially on the West Coast, because the light just looks amazing. So you're not required to do this, but I think you'll get your best photos at night. I do senior portraits, and I always do them right before the sun goes down because the light's going to look the best at that time. So there you go, golden hour. Give it a try. Great pictures. All right. There we go. All right. We are going to have to get those pictures from your phone to Google Drive. So I have all the directions here for you. Let me move my head so that it is not in everyone's way. There we go. And so you're going to need the Google Drive app. This is it right here. And get your school account connected to it. That way, when you're logged into schoolwork, you can open up your Drive on your phone and you can move files over. When that app is open, you're going to press this plus button. Okay. when you press the plus button. By the way, you could go into a folder first. You could go into your Media Arts folder and press that button, and it would already organize your photos for you. So that would be a great tip to do. You don't have to, but it's a good way to do it. All right, then what you're going to do is you're going to choose Upload after you've pressed plus. And then from that, you're going to choose Photos and Videos. Let me go back a slide. All right, you're going to choose Photos and Videos, and then you choose the photos that you want. So I've got a couple pictures of the kittens that I was fostering. And actually, I'm still fostering them. They're super cute. And I'm going to select those images, and then I'm going to hit that upload button in the upper right-hand corner. You can upload as many as you want at a time. And then when you do that, they all go into your account. So those pictures have now made it in. Now, the next thing is if you are using an iPhone and an Apple computer, some of you may have that. If so, I think AirDrop is a really convenient way to do it. Look at those cute kitties. So you just open up your photos, you select on them, you choose AirDrop from the bottom. Then any other Apple device that's nearby. My computer was nearby, so I was able to accept those photos. I hit accept. I choose save them to downloads. That way it's not going into my camera roll because I'm just going to use them right away. And then there, I was able to add these pictures of the kittens. Right there's Cordelia. And then we have, I think that's Hotspur and Puck. So I have 5 kittens right now. And yeah, super cute. These were 2 weeks ago when I first got them. Okay. If you are sharing your photos from a digital camera via a USB cable, which is generally the easiest way to do it, most digital cameras have a USB output. You can have the camera turned on with a cable connected. It's the smaller end of the cable, and then the larger end of the cable goes into the USB port of your computer or Chromebook, and you can copy files that way. You could also, maybe your folks have a card reader at home. See, it's got that same USB 2.0 connection. And then you can take the memory card, the SD card from your camera and put it in the slot here. You could do that. Sometimes computers, probably not the one that you have from school, but some of them might, if they're older, have an SD card reader that's full size here. I know that my kid's Chromebook has a micro SD reader. So if you had a micro SD adapter, you can actually put a micro SD card into a regular SD style card converter, use that in your camera, and then you could move them over. But either way, let me know at office hours if you're using a different device and you want help figuring out how to transfer them over. But the beauty of all this is you can go straight to Google Photos. But before we do, I'm going to cut back to the porch for just a minute. We're also going to do a secret word this week. The secret word is kosher pickles. I guess it's 2 words. Don't tell anybody. Kosher pickles. You know, let me just stop here for a minute. I had some students last week think I was in front of a green screen and wasn't actually on the Wilson River. I'm actually in my backyard right now. This is my deck. All right, Mr. Oliver, back to the slides. All right, so you've made it this far in the video. Congratulations. And you've heard the secret word, which is kosher pickles. You're going to have to enter that onto the Google form for this week. I haven't had 100% viewership of the videos. I'm getting more assignments turned in than I am views on the video, and I need to make sure you're watching videos. So, easy points this week. All you have to do is type in kosher pickles. But don't share that with anyone. Make them watch the video and learn that the secret word for today is kosher pickles. All right, moving along. I got that idea from Mrs. H. So if you're in music class, thank you, Mrs. H. It is a wonderful idea. All right, using Google Photos. Now we're going to talk about where you can put those pictures. So you could save your images directly onto your computer. I like to do that. I have my photos saved there. But if you have a Chromebook, it probably doesn't have a ton of space. And you can go directly into Google Photos. So by going to your waffle, this little 9 square thing that you probably click on all the time, Google Photos is one of your options. And we're going to use that. When you open it, it looks like this. It'll say photos and sharing for you, print store, etc. Albums is something that's really important that we're going to worry about. And then look, I've got pictures here that I've taken and they're all in my album. So we're going to be using Google Photos to store photos and create albums that we share with the class. we'll also use the image editor tools. I recommend using it on your computer or Chromebook and not on your phone directly. If you do, it's totally fine, but your entire camera roll will sync to your school's Google Photos. Maybe you don't want that, so it's up to you. So first, just like I was saying before, share them via Google Drive or AirDrop or a direct cable. So whatever works for you, and then you can upload them into Google Photos. All right, and here we go. So uploading to Google Photos, you're going to hit the button that says upload, and then you're going to choose computer. If your camera's connected, your camera should show up as a device. If your card's connected, your card will show up as a device. If you've saved them locally to your computer, you have to find wherever you put them, but then you select. So I did this from my Mac computer, and I chose upload from computer. I chose desktop because I had pictures on my desktop. I had this picture of this deer I saw at the cemetery eating some flowers. Looked like a great snack, so I took a picture. All right, then I decided to upload it. So I selected it. It says uploading to Google Photos, 1 of 1. There it goes, item uploaded. And then I chose to add it to an album. You're going to add it to an album also. So you're going to make a new album, and then you're going to call it Your Name's Shots or Your Name's Gallery, something like that. And you're going to add pictures. So, hey, there's that photo I showed you at the beginning of class, and there's a deer. So I added them to this. This is now an album that you have access to. And I'm going to put that onto my All About Me slide. So people are going to be able to go to my All About Me slide and click on my name or on the link that says My Gallery. Either way is totally fine. Just make sure it's obvious. And then other students will be able to come and see your gallery. So whatever you put in your gallery, make sure you're okay with showing it to the world. That's what a gallery is. So your assignment is to put at least 2 photos in your gallery. So that's your assignment this week. You have a quiz to take where you have to know the secret word. That's right, it's kosher pickles. And you have 2 photos to put in a shared album. So it's going to be shared, but we don't want others to be able to edit it. Let me explain. On your album, you are going to click on these 3 little dots and you're going to select options. From options, you are going to move the slider over so that others cannot add their photos and videos. We will do a shared album as a class, but this is not a shared album. This is your album. The name even says it, Mr. Oliver's Shots, not your shots, not Jimmy's shots, not Susie McDoozie's shot. So I'm going to slide that slider over so no one can collaborate. However, I'm going to leave comments and likes on. If you see a nice picture in my gallery, feel free to say something nice. We're going to have expectations around this, so you cannot say anything not nice about anyone's photos, but I want us to be able to interact with it. When we see a cool picture, wow, that's amazing. How'd you do that? All right, I really like this. That's great. Nice use of the rule of thirds. So we're going to comment on others' albums eventually, maybe even if you want to right away, but you're going to keep it respectful. And so lastly, link sharing, make sure that is on because you want anyone with a link to see photos and people in the album. We're not going to tag people as people, so it doesn't matter. And then you're going to copy that link. You're going to turn that collaboration function off, like I said, copy it to your clipboard. From last week, from actually 2 weeks ago, we created the All About Me slide and video, and we copied it to the media arts class. So here is my slide, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my gallery here. So I am going to add the words. I'm going to add a text box that says My Gallery. All right. How do I want that? I'm going to center it. You guys learned formatting, so I'm going to put this in the center, make that look nice. I want it right over the middle, though. Close enough. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to highlight that, and I'm going to put the link to my photo album here. And you guys are going to do this as well. So, and Mr. Oliver's Gallery. So walking you through this, here it is. Looks like people have already seen it. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to hit share. Now that little button is a share button. Let me put this here. And then now when I come in, all I have to do is copy the link and hit copy. And I go to meet the media arts class. That's already highlighted. So I'm going to go to my chain link or Control K on a Chromebook, Command K on a Mac. And I'm going to paste it in there. There we go. So now when people come to my slide, they're going to be able to click on My Gallery and see the pictures that I've taken. So we're going to add that on there. So this week is not a lot of assignments per se, but a lot of figuring out. So I want you to take lots of pictures. I want you to turn those grid lines on. I want you to try the rule of thirds. And I want you to make an album with at least 2 photos. Feel free to put more. And then you're going to link that to your slide just like I showed you. So your final thing as you look at it, you still have your video here. This is my video from before. Why did it say unable to play video? Something happened. I'll have to fix that. But I have my slide with my name. I have my gallery. So all of those things need to be completed, and you don't have to turn in any assignment other than take the survey with our secret word. I'm not going to tell you what that was because you can't just skip ahead to find the secret word. It's a secret, and you've earned it if you've made it this far. Nice job. Okay, and yes, there we go. I am going to teleport back to the porch so I can wrap things up. It's going to hurt a little bit, but I got this. Let me just stretch first. It's going to hurt. Whoa! I really like teleporting. It's convenient, just a little painful. So now that you've had a chance to see the slides and all the directions, good luck. Have fun taking pictures this week. It's really a great skill to be able to learn how to use a cell phone or any digital camera and get those images to your computer you're going to be using for school. So you're going to be able to take pictures and videos all semester long and add them and share them with the class. So I can't wait to see some of the pictures you come up with. And so remember, herons, never stop creating, and I'll see you in the next video. Where should I teleport next? I don't know.